The mirror shattered against the stone wall, but when Ngozi opened her eyes, it was whole again, sitting on her bed, gleaming in the moonlight. The reflection staring back at her was not her own beautiful face. It was a monster. Scales covered what should have been smooth bronze skin. Her eyes glowed yellow like a serpent's. Horns twisted from her skull. She screamed until her throat burned raw, but no one came. No one ever came anymore. 3 days ago, she had been the most beautiful woman in all of Africa, loved by everyone, desired by kings. Now, she was this. And the worst part. She deserved it. But let me tell you how the most admired woman in the kingdom of humans became the most feared. Let me tell you about the day beauty became a curse. 5 weeks earlier, the sun rose over humans like liquid gold, painting the mud brick houses in shades of amber and copper. In the largest compound at the center of the village, Ngozi stretched on her sleeping mat, her body moving with the lazy grace of someone who had never known hardship. At 22 years old, she possessed the kind of beauty that stopped conversations mid-sentence. Her skin gleamed like polished mahogany. Her eyes were wide and expressive, framed by lashes so long they cast shadows on her cheeks. When she smiled, men forgot their own names. When she walked, women wept with envy. Ngozi. The water needs fetching, her mother called from the cooking area. Ngozi examined her reflection in a polished bronze plate, turning her face this way and that. Send Kayameka. I cannot risk the sun damaging my skin. The festival is in 3 days. Her younger sister appeared in the doorway, 12 years old and plain, with kind eyes that held no resentment. I will go, sister. Of course you will, Ngozi said, not looking up from her reflection. What else are you good for? Their mother, Obiajili, sighed from the other room but said nothing. She had long ago learned that correcting Ngozi was like trying to redirect the Niger River with your bare hands. The girl had been beautiful from birth, and the village had spoiled her rotten, praising her every feature until she believed her beauty made her royalty. Ngozi finally rose and draped herself in her finest wrapper, the indigo cloth hugging her curves perfectly. She rubbed shea butter into her skin until it gleamed, then adorned her neck with coral beads that had cost her father 3 months of trade profits. When she emerged from the compound, the morning market was already bustling with activity. Ngozi. Beautiful Ngozi. Old Chokudi called from his yam store. Please, take the finest yams. No payment needed. Just blessing my store with your presence is payment enough. She selected 3 of his largest yams without a word of thanks and moved on. At the cloth merchant's store, she fingered the fabrics, and the merchant practically threw bundles at her feet. Anything you want, beautiful one. Anything at all. A young man, barely 18, stumbled in front of her, his eyes wide. Ngozi, I have been saving money. My father has 10 goats. I know it is not much, but perhaps you would consider. 10 goats. Ngozi laughed, the sound like bells but sharp with mockery. The king of Enugu sends 50 cows and 100 bags of cowries for my hand. The chief of Igboland sent gold and ivory. And you offer me 10 goats. Do I look like a woman who tends goats? The boy's face crumbled. He backed away, and Ngozi heard him crying as he ran. She felt nothing. Why should she? She was beautiful. The world existed to worship her. Near the village well, she spotted Chioma, a girl her own age, plain-faced and soft-spoken, drawing water for the elderly widow who lived at the edge of the village. Chioma's wrapper was faded and patched, her hands rough from work. Several young children clustered around her, laughing at something she had said. Still playing nursemaid to the village rejects. Ngozi called out, her voice carrying across the square. How noble of you, Chioma. Although I suppose when you have no beauty to offer, charity is your only value. Chioma's smile faded. The children looked confused, not understanding the cruelty. One little girl tugged at Chioma's wrapper. Do not listen to her, Sister Chioma. You are beautiful to us. To children and old women, Ngozi said, examining her nails. How impressive. She walked away, missing the way Chioma's eyes filled with tears, missing the way the market-goers exchanged uncomfortable glances. They loved Ngozi's beauty, yes, but even devotion has its limits. That evening, Mama Nneka came to the compound. She was ancient, her face a map of wrinkles, her back bent from decades of carrying the village's burdens. She was the keeper of wisdom, the one who remembered the old ways, the one who spoke to the ancestors. Everyone respected her. Everyone except Ngozi. Child, Mama Nneka said, settling onto a stool with great effort. I have come to speak with you about the festival. Have you come to tell me how beautiful I will look? Ngozi asked, not bothering to greet the elder properly. I have come to warn you, Mama Nneka said, her voice soft but firm. Beauty is a gift from the ancestors, but it is not meant to be a weapon. You have been using yours to wound others, to elevate yourself while pushing others down. This path leads only to darkness. Ngozi laughed. Darkness. Old woman, look at me. I am light itself. I am what every girl dreams of becoming. I am what every man desires. My beauty opens every door, wins every prize. Why should I not use it? Because beauty fades, Mama Nneka said. But character is forever. What will you be when your looks are gone? What will remain when the mirror shows you truth instead of flattery? My looks will never fade, Ngozi said, her voice hard now. And truth? The truth is that I am beautiful, and you are old and jealous. Now leave. Your presence is depressing, and I need to prepare for the festival. Mama Nneka stood slowly, her ancient bones creaking. She looked at Ngozi with something like pity. Very well, child. You have been warned. Now, you must learn. That night, after Mama Nneka had gone, Ngozi lay on her mat and smiled at the ceiling. The festival of the moon goddess was in 3 days. She would win, as she always did. She would stand before the entire kingdom and be crowned the most beautiful maiden once more. 5 years running. No one could touch her. Outside, Mama Nneka stood in the moonlight, her hands raised to the sky. Ancestors, she whispered, she has rejected wisdom. She has rejected kindness. Show her the truth. Show her what beauty means when the heart is ugly. Let her see what we all see, until she learns to look with different eyes. The wind picked up, carrying her words into the night. The festival of the moon goddess was the most important celebration in humans. Young women from across the kingdom gathered to showcase not just their beauty but their grace, their talent, their virtue. At least, that was the original purpose. Over the years, it had become primarily a beauty contest, and Ngozi had dominated it so completely that most girls did not even bother competing anymore. The village square had been transformed. Palm fronds created a canopy of green. Drums lined the edges, waiting for skilled hands. The elders sat in a semicircle, the judges who would crown this year's winner. The chief himself presided, flanked by his advisors and visiting dignitaries from neighboring kingdoms. Ngozi arrived fashionably late, a calculated move. She wanted everyone assembled so they could all watch her entrance. She wore white, the color of purity, though there was nothing pure about her intentions. The cloth wrapped around her body like water, accentuating every curve. Her neck dripped with beads. Her wrist jangled with bronze bangles. She had lined her eyes with ground charcoal, making them impossibly large and luminous. The crowd gasped. Literally gasped. Conversations stopped. Children pointed. Men stared openly, and their wives elbowed them sharply in the ribs. She is like a goddess herself, someone whispered. No woman should be that beautiful, another murmured. It is not natural. Ngozi smiled, drinking in the attention like palm wine. This was her element. This was her power. The competition began. 10 young women had entered this year, a surprisingly high number. Usually only 3 or 4 bothered. They performed traditional dances, sang songs, displayed skills in weaving and pottery. Some were lovely. Some were talented. None were Ngozi. When her turn came, she did not dance or sing. She simply walked. She glided across the square with a grace that seemed impossible, her body moving like smoke. She stopped in the center, turned slowly so everyone could admire her from every angle, and then smiled. That was it. That was her entire performance. The judges conferred for exactly 3 seconds. The winner, for the 5th year, is Ngozi, daughter of Obiajili. The crowd erupted in applause, though Ngozi noticed it was less enthusiastic than last year. She ignored this detail. She was beautiful. She won. That was all that mattered. As the crown of flowers was placed on her head, she looked out at the other competitors. Most looked resigned, used to losing to her. But Chioma, who had come in last place as expected, was smiling. Actually smiling, as if losing did not bother her at all. This irritated Ngozi more than any criticism could have. After the ceremony, as people celebrated with food and drink, Ngozi approached Chioma, who was helping serve the elders. "You are happy with last place?" Ngozi asked, her voice dripping with false concern. "How humble of you." Chioma looked up, her plain face open and honest. "I am happy I participated. I learned much, and I enjoyed myself. Winning is not everything, Ngozi. Only losers say that," Ngozi said. Then, louder, so others could hear, "Tell me, Chioma, when you look in the mirror, do you ever wish you could be beautiful? Do you ever imagine what it would be like to be admired instead of pitied?" Chioma's smile faded. Her hands trembled slightly as she set down the calabash she was holding. Around them, conversations quieted. People were listening now, watching. Chioma started. "Because I look in the mirror every day," Ngozi continued, "and I see perfection. I see what the gods intended when they created woman. And then I see girls like you, and I wonder why the gods bother making some people so forgettable. What is the point of you, really? To make the rest of us look better by comparison." A tear rolled down Chioma's cheek. She turned and ran, pushing through the crowd. Several people called after her, concerned, but she did not stop. "Well," Ngozi said, adjusting her flower crown, "some people cannot handle truth." But when she looked around, she did not see the agreement she expected. Instead, people were looking at her with something new in their eyes. Not quite anger, but not admiration either. Discomfort, maybe. Disappointment. Old Chokudi, who had given her free yams that very morning, shook his head slowly. "That was cruel, daughter. That was not necessary." She asked for honesty, Ngozi said, feeling defensive for the first time in her life. "No," Mama Neko's voice came from behind her. "She asked for nothing. You simply enjoy causing pain. But pain has a way of returning to its source. Remember that." Ngozi spun around, but Mama Neko was already walking away, leaning on her carved walking stick, moving slowly through the parting crowd. That night, Ngozi could not sleep. Chioma's tears kept appearing behind her closed eyelids. The look on the old yam seller's face. The way the crowd had gone quiet. She pushed the thoughts away. They were just jealous. All of them. Jealous of her beauty, her success, her power. By morning, they would remember why they loved her. They always did. But when morning came, something had changed. Ngozi woke to find a package outside her sleeping room. It was wrapped in cloth the color of midnight, tied with thin vines that seemed to move in the still morning air. There was no note, no indication of who had left it. "Mother," she called. "Did someone bring me a gift?" Obiageli appeared, wiping her hands on her wrapper. "I saw nothing, daughter. It was simply there when I woke." "Perhaps an admirer." "Of course an admirer," Ngozi said, though something about the package made her uneasy. "I have dozens of them." She untied the vines, which seemed reluctant to release their hold. The cloth fell away to reveal a wooden box, carved with symbols she did not recognize. They seemed to shift and change when she was not looking directly at them. The box itself was beautiful, made from dark wood that absorbed light rather than reflecting it. Inside, nestled in soft cloth, was a mirror. But not just any mirror. The frame was bronze, worked with intricate patterns that might have been faces or might have been abstract designs, depending on how you looked at them. The glass itself was perfectly smooth, perfectly clear, like looking into still water. "How beautiful," Obiageli breathed, coming closer. "This must have cost a fortune. Who would send such a gift?" "Someone who recognizes my worth," Ngozi said, lifting the mirror carefully. It was heavier than it looked, solid and real in her hands. She held it up, eager to see her reflection in something so fine. What she saw made her drop the mirror. It fell onto the packed earth floor but did not break. Did not even crack. It lay there, face up, and the thing in the reflection stared up at her with yellow eyes. What is that?" Ngozi stammered, backing away. "What is what, daughter?" Obiageli picked up the mirror, examined it, looked into it. "I see only myself, looking worried because you are acting strange. Are you unwell?" "Let me see," Ngozi demanded, snatching the mirror back. The monster was still there. Her face, but not her face. Scales instead of skin, rough and greenish-brown like a crocodile's hide. Her beautiful eyes were vertical slits, glowing with malevolence. Her mouth, when it opened in her shocked gasp, showed rows of pointed teeth. And horns, small but undeniable, pushed through the skin at her temples. "This mirror is broken," Ngozi shouted. "It is cursed. It shows me as a thing." "Let me see again," Obiageli said, concerned now. She looked into the mirror once more. "Ngozi, I see nothing wrong. The mirror works perfectly. Here, look at me in it." She angled the mirror so Ngozi could see her mother's reflection. It was normal. Perfectly normal. Obiageli's kind, worried face, exactly as it should be. "Now look at yourself," her mother said, turning the mirror back. The monster. Still there. Those yellow eyes. Those scales. Ngozi's scream brought her father and sister running. Kayameka took the mirror, looked into it, saw herself normally. Her father looked, saw himself with his graying hair and weathered face. But when Ngozi looked, the monster stared back. "What kind of curse is this?" Ngozi whispered. "There is no curse," her father said firmly. "You are stressed from the festival. You need rest. Put the mirror away." But Ngozi could not put it away. All day, she tried. She placed it in a basket and covered it with cloth, but when she returned to her room, it was sitting on her sleeping mat, uncovered. She took it to the edge of the compound and buried it beneath a mango tree, piling rocks on top. An hour later, she found it on her bed again, clean of dirt, gleaming in the afternoon light. She tried to break it. She struck it against a rock with all her strength. The rock cracked. The mirror remained perfect. "Fine," she screamed at it. "You want to stay? Stay. But I will not look at you." She covered every reflective surface in her room with cloth. She avoided the well. She refused to look at polished bronze or calm water. If she could not see the monster, she could pretend it was not there. This worked for exactly one day. On the second day after the mirror arrived, Ngozi woke and stumbled to the water jar for a morning drink. The water was calm and clear, and in its surface, she saw the monster. She dropped the jar. It shattered. Water spread across the floor, and in every puddle, the monster stared up at her. "No, no, no," she muttered, grabbing a cloth to wipe up the water. But as she walked, she caught a glimpse of herself in the polished side of a bronze pot. The monster. In the gleaming handle of a knife. The monster. In a rain puddle in the compound. The monster. Every reflection, every surface that could possibly show an image, now showed her that hideous, scaled creature with yellow eyes and small horns. Only the cursed mirror showed it at first, but now it had spread, contaminating every reflection in her world. "I am going mad," Ngozi whispered to herself. "I am beautiful. Everyone says so. This is not real. This is not real." But it felt real. It looked real. And worst of all, she was starting to wonder if maybe, somehow, it was real. Her mother found her huddled in the corner of her room, rocking back and forth. "Ngozi, you must eat. You have not left your room in 2 days." "I cannot," Ngozi said. "I cannot let anyone see me like this." "Like what?" "You are as beautiful as ever, daughter. Whatever you think you see in that mirror, it is not true. You are letting it poison your mind. Then why will it not leave me alone?" Ngozi asked, her voice breaking. "Why does it follow me? Why does every reflection show that thing?" Obiageli sat beside her daughter, smoothing her hair. "Perhaps," she said carefully, "the mirror is trying to tell you something. That I am a monster. That is what you think." "No," Obiageli said. "I think maybe it is showing you how you make others feel. How your beauty has become a weapon. How your cruelty." "Get out!" Ngozi screamed. "Get out! You are supposed to be my mother. You are supposed to support me, not attack me." Obiageli stood slowly, sadness etched deep in her face. "I am your mother. That is why I am telling you this. But you cannot hear it, can you? Not yet." She left, and Ngozi was alone with the monster in every reflection. 3 days after the mirror arrived, Ngozi finally left her room. She had to. The next village council meeting was scheduled, and her father expected the family to attend. She wrapped herself in layers of cloth, covered her head, and kept her eyes down, avoiding every possible reflection. The meeting was held in the village square under the ancient Iroko tree. The elders sat in a circle, and families arranged themselves around them. Ngozi sat with her family, silent and withdrawn, so different from her usual preening self that people stared. "Is Ngozi unwell?" someone whispered. "She looks so sad," another murmured. Chioma was there too, sitting with the widow she helped care for. When she saw Ngozi, her expression softened with concern, even after the cruelty Ngozi had shown her. That kindness made Ngozi feel worse somehow. The chief stood to speak about harvest plans and trade agreements, but Ngozi could not focus. She felt eyes on her, judging her, seeing what she now saw in every reflection. She felt exposed, vulnerable, terrified that somehow they knew. Somehow they could see the monster she was becoming. Then disaster struck. A child, playing nearby, kicked a calabash. It rolled across the ground and stopped at Ngozi's feet. The calabash was polished, smooth, reflective. Before she could look away, she saw it. The monster. Right there in front of dozens of witnesses. She screamed. She could not help it. The scream ripped from her throat, raw and terrified, and suddenly everyone was staring at her, not whispering but openly gaping. "Ngozi," her father said sharply. "What is wrong with you? Do you not see it?" she gasped, pointing at the calabash. "Do you not see what I have become?" People leaned forward, looking at the calabash. They saw her face, beautiful as always, contorted in fear. They did not see scales. They did not see yellow eyes or horns. I see nothing wrong, the chief said, his voice concerned. Child, are you ill? The mirror, Ngozi whispered. The mirror did this. It cursed me. Mama Neka, sitting with the elders, spoke for the first time. There is no curse on you, Ngozi. Only truth. Truth. Ngozi spun to face the old woman. You did this. You cursed me. You sent that mirror. I sent you a gift, Mama Neka said calmly. A mirror that shows truth instead of flattery. Most would consider that valuable. I am beautiful. Ngozi shouted. Everyone says so. Everyone has always said so. This is not truth, this is cruelty. Is it? Mama Neka asked. Tell me, child, when you look at that reflection, what do you see? A monster, Ngozi whispered, her voice breaking. And when others look at you with cruelty, when you wield your beauty like a weapon, when you humiliate and hurt those around you, what are you then? The square had gone silent. Everyone was listening now, beginning to understand. I am beautiful, Ngozi repeated, but her voice was uncertain now. On the outside, Mama Neka said. Yes. Undeniably. But the mirror does not show outsides, Ngozi. It shows insides. It shows the spirit. It shows the heart. And your heart, child, your heart has become monstrous. No, Ngozi backed away. No, I am good. I am. When did you last help someone? Mama Neka asked. When did you last show kindness? When did you last think of anyone but yourself? Ngozi opened her mouth but found no answer. The crowd waited, but she had nothing to say. The mirror will show your true face until you become on the outside what you are on the inside, Mama Neka continued, or until you change what is inside to match the beauty you were given. The choice is yours. This is not fair. Ngozi cried. I have done nothing wrong. Beauty is not a crime. No, Mama Neka agreed. But cruelty is. Pride is. Using gifts to harm rather than help, that is the crime. And you, beautiful Ngozi, have been guilty of all these things. Ngozi ran. She pushed through the crowd and ran back to her compound, her family calling after her, people staring in shock and confusion. She burst into her room and there it was, the mirror, sitting on her bed as if waiting for her. She grabbed it and stared into it, and for the first time, she really looked at the monster staring back. Those scales. Those eyes. That expression of cruelty and contempt. And she realized, with horror that made her stomach turn, that the expression was hers. The monster wore her cruelty like a mask. The ugliness was hers. What do I do? She whispered to the empty room. How do I change? The mirror showed no answer. Only the monster, staring back with yellow eyes that seemed to say, figure it out yourself. Over the next 2 weeks, Ngozi's life crumbled. The physical effects had not started yet. To everyone else, she still looked as beautiful as ever. But her behavior changed, and that changed everything. She became paranoid, convinced that people could see what she saw, that they were mocking her behind her back. She stopped going to the market. She stopped accepting visitors. She snapped at her family over nothing. Her mother's concerned questions felt like accusations. Her father's disappointed looks felt like judgment. Even little Kayameka's attempts to help felt like pity, and Ngozi could not stand being pitied. Do you think I am a monster? She asked Kayameka one night, her voice desperate. Her sister, sweet and honest, tilted her head thoughtfully. I think you have been unkind, sister. I think you have hurt people. But monsters cannot change, and you can. So no, you are not a monster. Not yet. Not yet, Ngozi repeated hollowly. What does that mean? Am I becoming one? Kayameka left without answering, and Ngozi was alone with the mirror again. She tried everything to appease it, to make it show her true face again. She said nice things to people, but they came out sounding false, mechanical. She gave gifts, but they felt like transactions, buying approval rather than showing generosity. She smiled at people she had previously ignored, but the smiles did not reach her eyes and everyone could tell. It is not working, she screamed at the mirror one night. I am trying. Why is it not working? The monster stared back, unmoved. Then, 3 weeks after the mirror arrived, the physical changes began. She woke one morning and felt different. Her skin, which she touched obsessively, felt rougher. When she looked at her hands in the morning light, not in a reflection, but directly, she saw that her fingers looked slightly longer, the nails more pointed. It was subtle. No one else would notice yet. But she knew. The mirror had said she would become on the outside what she was on the inside, and it was starting. The transformation was beginning. 5 days before everything ended, the chief made an announcement. There would be another festival, a special one. The princess of a neighboring kingdom was coming to visit, and humans would host a celebration in her honor. There would be competitions, performances, and the princess herself would award prizes. This is a great honor for our village, the chief proclaimed in the square. We must show her the best of who we are, the finest talents, the greatest skills. All young women are invited to participate. Ngozi, hiding in the shadows at the edge of the square, felt her stomach twist. Another competition. Another chance to prove her beauty, to reclaim her title, to make people remember why they loved her. But also another chance to fail, to be exposed, to have everyone see what she was becoming. I heard, a voice said beside her, making her jump. It was Chioma, of all people. The girl she had humiliated. I heard you have been unwell. Why do you care? Ngozi asked, her voice sharp from habit. Chioma was quiet for a moment, then said, because cruelty from you hurt me, but illness in you makes me sad. There is a difference. I am not ill, Ngozi said automatically. Then what is wrong? Ngozi almost told her. Almost explained about the mirror, the monster, the curse. But pride, her constant companion, stopped her tongue. Nothing is wrong. I am as I have always been. No, Chioma said gently. You are not. And I think you know it. She walked away, leaving Ngozi alone with truth she did not want to face. That night, Ngozi made a decision. She would enter the festival. She would compete. She would prove that she was still the most beautiful, still the most worthy of admiration. If she could win, if she could reclaim her crown, maybe the mirror would release her. Maybe the transformation would stop. Maybe she could go back to the way things were. She spent 3 days preparing, avoiding all reflections, focusing solely on her appearance. She chose her finest wrapper, the deepest blue, embroidered with gold thread. She borrowed her mother's most precious beads. She rubbed her skin with oils until it gleamed. On the outside, at least, she was still beautiful. She could still win. If you're enjoying this story, hit that subscribe button right now, because what happens next will shock you. Trust me, you don't want to miss this. The day of the festival arrived with perfect weather. Clear skies, gentle breeze, the kind of day that felt blessed by the gods. The village square was even more elaborately decorated than usual. The princess's retinue had arrived the day before, bringing with them musicians, dancers, and an air of sophistication that made humans feel simultaneously proud and provincial. The princess herself was lovely in an understated way. She had intelligent eyes and an easy smile, and she treated the village elders with respect that made them love her immediately. When she spoke, people listened, not because of her beauty but because of the wisdom in her words. Ngozi watched from her compound, jealousy burning in her chest. The princess was everything she was not: kind, thoughtful, genuinely interested in others. And people loved her for it, in a way they had never really loved Ngozi, even at the height of her beauty. When it was time to go to the festival, Ngozi's hands shook as she adjusted her wrapper. She had not looked in a reflection for 3 days, afraid of what she might see. Her nails were definitely more claw-like now. Her skin felt constantly rough, though it still looked smooth. Sometimes, when she was angry, she felt something pushing at her temples, as if the horns wanted to break through. "You do not have to do this," her mother said, watching her prepare. "You do not have to compete." "Yes, I do," Ngozi said. "I have to prove I am still beautiful." "To whom?" Ngozi had no answer. The square was packed when she arrived. More people than she had ever seen at a festival. Word had spread about the princess's visit, and villagers from neighboring communities had come to witness the celebration. The competitors were already assembled, 8 young women this year, including Chioma, who wore a simple white wrapper and a crown of fresh flowers in her hair. The chief welcomed everyone, made a speech about unity and prosperity, and then introduced the princess, who would serve as the primary judge alongside the village elders. "Let the competitions begin," the chief declared. The first girl performed a traditional dance, graceful and well executed. The second sang a song that made people weep. The third demonstrated pottery skills, creating a perfect vessel in minutes. Each contestant showcased genuine talent, real skill, something of value beyond appearance. Then it was Chioma's turn. She walked to the center of the square and said, "I have no special talent to share. But I want to tell a story." "A story?" the princess asked, leaning forward with interest. "Please, proceed." Chioma's voice was soft but clear as she spoke. "Once, there was a woman who was given a great gift. She was beautiful beyond measure, and everyone who saw her loved her. But she confused their admiration for her appearance with love for her person. She used her gift to hurt others, to elevate herself by pushing others down. She believed her beauty made her better, made her worthy of worship." Ngozi's blood went cold. Chioma was talking about her. In front of everyone. "But gifts are not meant to be weapons," Chioma continued. "They are meant to be shared, to uplift, to bring joy." This woman forgot that. And one day, a wise elder gave her a mirror that showed her the truth of what she had become. Not physically, but spiritually. And the woman was horrified. The crowd was silent, captivated. Even the princess was listening intently. "The question is," Chioma said, looking directly at Ngozi now, "will she change? Will she use her gift as it was meant to be used? Or will she hold on to her cruelty until she becomes on the outside what she has been on the inside all along?" Every person here has that choice. We can be beautiful or we can be kind. But true beauty, the kind that matters, requires both. She bowed and stepped back. The crowd erupted in applause, genuine and enthusiastic. The princess stood, clapping, her eyes bright with approval. "That was wonderful," the princess said. "Wise beyond your years. Thank you for that story." Then all eyes turned to Ngozi. It was her turn. She stood, feeling the weight of every gaze. This was her moment. This was when she would reclaim everything. She walked to the center of the square, her movement still graceful despite the changes happening beneath her skin. And then she saw it. At the edge of the square, someone had placed a large bronze shield, polished to a mirror finish. It leaned against the post, angled perfectly so that when Ngozi stood in the center, she could see her full reflection. The monster stared back at her. But worse, much worse, the transformation had progressed. The scales were more prominent now, visible even in normal light. The horns had pushed through the skin at her temples, small but undeniable. Her eyes had changed, the pupils narrowing to slits. And as she stood there, frozen in horror, staring at what she was becoming, she saw something else. Around the reflection, she saw the faces of everyone watching her. Her mother, sad and worried. Her father, disappointed. Kayameka, scared. Chioma, pitying. The villagers, uncomfortable. The princess, confused. They did not see the monster yet. They still saw her physical beauty. But they saw her spirit, her cruelty, her pride, reflected in her actions. And they were tired of it. Well, the chief prompted. Ngozi, will you perform? She opened her mouth to speak, but what came out was not words. It was a sound, something between a hiss and a growl, something inhuman. She clapped her hand over her mouth, shocked. The crowd murmured, confused. The princess leaned toward an elder, asking a question. Ngozi's family started to rise, concerned. And Ngozi felt it, the final stage of the transformation beginning. Pain erupted in her jaw as it started to elongate. Her hands cramped as the bones shifted. The horns pushed harder, breaking through the skin. No, she whispered. Not here. Not now. But the mirror had no mercy. She had made her choice, again and again, in moment after moment of cruelty and pride. And now she would become what she had always been inside. I cannot do this, Ngozi gasped, backing away from the center of the square. I cannot. Ngozi. Her mother's voice, full of concern. Daughter, what is happening? The crowd pressed closer, trying to understand. The princess stood, her hand on the chief's arm, asking something Ngozi could not hear over the roaring in her ears. Then Chioma did something unexpected. She walked into the center of the square and stood beside Ngozi. She is unwell, Chioma said calmly to the crowd. Please, give her space. Why are you helping me? Ngozi hissed through teeth that felt too sharp, too many. I was cruel to you. Yes, Chioma said simply. But I am not you. That statement, so simple, so true, broke something in Ngozi. All her defenses, all her pride, cracked like old pottery. She looked at Chioma, really looked at her, and saw what she had been too blind to see before. True beauty. The kind that came from inside, that made people feel safe and valued and loved. I do not know how to be like you, Ngozi whispered. Then start by being honest, Chioma said. Tell them the truth. Ngozi looked at the crowd, at all those watching faces. She could lie. She could make an excuse. She could run away and hide. Or she could, for the first time in her life, tell the truth. I am changing, she said, her voice shaking. Mama Neke gave me a mirror that shows truth, and I have been changing. Not just inside, but outside too. I am becoming what I have been all along, a monster. I have been cruel and vain and selfish. I have hurt people for no reason except that I could. I have used my beauty as a weapon. And now I am being punished for it. The crowd was silent, shocked by this admission. Even her parents stared at her in disbelief. The mirror shows me as a creature with scales and horns and yellow eyes, Ngozi continued, tears streaming down her face now. And at first, I thought it was a curse. But it is not a curse. It is truth. It is what I made myself. And now my body is catching up to my spirit. Let me see this mirror, the princess said, stepping forward. Her voice was kind but firm. May I? Ngozi nodded. Kayameka ran to fetch it from their compound. When she returned, she handed the mirror to Ngozi carefully, as if it might bite. Ngozi held it up so everyone could see her reflection. To them, they saw only her face, beautiful but tear-stained, twisted in anguish. But Ngozi saw the monster, more pronounced than ever. The transformation was nearly complete. I see a beautiful young woman in pain, the princess said gently. What do you see? A monster, Ngozi whispered. And why do you think the mirror shows you this? Because I have been monstrous. In my actions. In my heart. Mama Neka stepped forward from the circle of elders. The mirror of truth, she said, her voice carrying across the silent square, was given to me by my grandmother, who received it from her grandmother before her. It has been in our family for generations, used to teach those who have forgotten the difference between outer beauty and inner worth. She moved to stand beside Ngozi, looking at her with eyes full of ancient wisdom. The mirror does not lie, child. But it also does not doom. It shows you what you are becoming, yes, but also what you could be. The transformation can go two ways. What do you mean? Ngozi asked desperately. You can continue down this path until the monster is complete, Mama Neka said. Or you can change. Truly change, not with false gestures or empty words, but with real transformation of the heart. And if you do, the mirror will reflect that too. How? Ngozi cried. How do I change? I have tried. I have said kind things, given gifts. Those are actions, Mama Neka interrupted. I am talking about essence. About who you are when no one is watching. About the voice in your head when you see someone in pain. About what you do with your gift when there is no reward for using them well. I do not understand. Then you must learn, Mama Neka said. And learning takes time. It takes humility. It takes being willing to serve rather than be served. It takes seeing beauty in others, truly seeing it, and celebrating it without jealousy. It takes becoming small so others can become big. I do not know if I can do that, Ngozi admitted. Then you will become the monster completely, Mama Neka said, not unkindly. The choice is yours, as it has always been. The mirror merely shows the consequences of your choices. The festival had dissolved. No one cared about the competition anymore. Everyone stood transfixed by this drama, this revelation, this moment of raw truth in the village square. The princess approached Ngozi, and up close, Ngozi could see that she was not just lovely, she was kind. It showed in every line of her face, every gesture of her hands. I have a suggestion, the princess said. Come with me. Spend time in my kingdom. Let me show you what it means to lead with kindness rather than pride. Let me teach you what my mother taught me, that beauty is a responsibility, not a right. That gifts are given to us so we can give to others. Why would you help me? Ngozi asked, shocked. You do not even know me. I know you enough, the princess said. I see a young woman at a crossroads. One path leads to becoming fully the monster you fear. The other path leads to becoming fully human, fully beautiful in the way that matters. I want to help you choose the second path. I do not deserve your help. No one deserves help, the princess said with a slight smile. That is the point. We give it anyway. That is what kindness means. Ngozi looked at her family. Her mother was crying, nodding encouragement. Her father looked stern but hopeful. Kayameka was smiling, sweet and supportive as always. She looked at Chioma, who gave her a small nod of approval. Then she looked at the mirror one more time. The monster stared back, but for the first time, she thought she saw something else in those yellow eyes. Not just cruelty. Also fear. Also hope. Also the possibility of change. I will go, Ngozi said. I will learn. I will try to change. Trying is not enough, Mama Neka said sharply. You must succeed. Because if you do not, the transformation will complete. And once it is complete, it cannot be undone. You have perhaps a month, maybe less. Use that time well. Ngozi left with the princess the next morning. She took nothing but the cloth on her back and the mirror, which refused to be left behind no matter where she tried to hide it. The princess's retinue was kind to her, though she caught them staring sometimes, confused by her behavior, by the way she avoided every reflection, by the gloves she wore to hide her changing hands. The princess's kingdom was 3 days' journey away, and during those 3 days, Ngozi began her education. The princess, whose name was Amora, did not lecture or scold. She simply lived her life, and Ngozi watched. When they passed beggars on the road, Amora stopped to speak with them, to learn their names, to give them food and coins. Not as charity, but as equals. Everyone has a story, she told Ngozi. Everyone has value. You just have to take time to see it. When they stopped at a village for the night, Amora helped the innkeeper's wife prepare food, laughing and walking alongside her like a sister. Hands that serve others are never idle, she said when Ngozi questioned why a princess would do servant's work. And work done for others is never beneath anyone. When they encountered a mother struggling with a crying child, Amora offered to help, holding the baby while the mother rested. The child stopped crying in her arms. Children and animals always know, Amora said softly. They can sense what kind of person you are. They see past the surface. Every interaction was a lesson, though Amora never framed it that way. She simply was who she was, and her kindness flowed as naturally as breathing. Ngozi watched and felt ashamed. This was what she should have been. This was what beauty was meant to enable, not dominance, but service. Not pride, but connection. On the 3rd night, as they camped under the stars, Ngozi finally asked, "Why are you kind? What do you gain from it?" Amora looked surprised by the question. "I gain everything. Connection, purpose, joy. When you help others, when you lift them up, you lift yourself up too. When you celebrate others' beauty, you become more beautiful. When you serve, you become more than yourself. That is the secret my mother taught me." But does it not make you weak? People will take advantage of kindness. Some will, Amora agreed. But most will not. And even if they do, I would rather be taken advantage of occasionally than become so guarded that I miss the chance to truly connect with people. Walls keep enemies out, but they also keep friends out. I prefer to live without walls. Ngozi touched the mirror in her bag. She had not looked at it in 3 days, too afraid of what she would see. What if it is too late for me? What if I cannot change? Then you will become the monster, Amora said simply. But I do not think it is too late. I think you are changing already. I see it in the way you helped that child pick up her dropped toy today. In the way you shared your food with the old woman at the last village. In the way you are listening, really listening, instead of just waiting for your turn to speak. These are small things, but all change begins small. The mirror might not agree, Ngozi said bitterly. Then prove the mirror wrong, Amora challenged. Show it that you can change faster than it can transform you. Race it. Win. Ngozi looked at the stars above, brilliant in the dark sky, and for the first time in weeks, she felt something other than fear. She felt determination. Princess Amora's kingdom was beautiful, but not in the way Ngozi expected. It was not wealthy or grand. The palace was modest, the streets were simple, the people were ordinary. But there was something special about the place, something Ngozi could not quite name at first. Then she realized, everyone smiled. Everyone greeted each other warmly. Neighbors helped neighbors. Children played freely, supervised by any adult nearby. Elderly people sat in places of honor, telling stories to anyone who would listen. It was a community, truly connected, truly caring for each other. This is what kindness builds, Amora explained as they walked through the market. My mother, and her mother before her, taught our people that we are all responsible for each other. That beauty, whether in people, in art, in our surroundings, is meant to be shared and celebrated, not hoarded or used for dominance. Ngozi watched a young woman help an older man carry heavy baskets. Neither of them was particularly attractive, but the young woman's smile and the old man's grateful expression created a beauty that Ngozi had never noticed before. It was the beauty of connection, of caring, of community. "Come," Amara said. "Let me show you what your days will be like here." She took Ngozi to a building at the edge of the palace grounds. Inside, dozens of children sat in circles, learning from teachers. But these were not ordinary children. Some had physical deformities. Some were blind or deaf. Some were orphans, marked by poverty and loss. These children have been rejected by their communities, Amora explained. Labeled as cursed or worthless because they do not meet society's standards of perfection. We take them in, teach them, show them they have value. "You want me to teach them?" Ngozi asked, confused. "I want you to learn from them," Amora corrected. "They will teach you more about beauty than I ever could. They will show you what it means to be strong, to be brave, to be beautiful without any of the traditional advantages you have always relied on." Over the next weeks, Ngozi worked with the children every day. At first, she was awkward, unsure how to interact with them. She was used to being admired, not being the admirer. But the children, with their open hearts and honest faces, broke through her defenses. There was Kelechi, a boy with a twisted leg who could not walk without support, but who had the most beautiful singing voice Ngozi had ever heard. There was Ngozi, a girl who was deaf but who could dance with more grace than any performer Ngozi had ever seen, feeling the vibrations of drums through the floor. There was little Chima, blind from birth, who could identify anyone by their footsteps and remember every story he was ever told. "You are all so talented," Ngozi said one day, genuinely amazed. "Teacher said we are beautiful," Kelechi said in his halting way. "But nobody sees it. They see the broken parts." "I see it," Ngozi said, and realized she meant it. "I see your beauty. All of you." That night, alone in the small room Amara had given her, Ngozi pulled out the mirror. She had been avoiding it, afraid of what she would see. But Amara's words echoed in her mind, "Race it. Win." She held up the mirror and looked. The monster was still there. The scales, the horns, the yellow eyes. But something was different. The expression had changed. The cruelty had softened. The contempt had given way to something else. Sadness, maybe. Or regret. The transformation was still progressing, but perhaps, just perhaps, it had slowed. "I am trying," she whispered to her reflection. "I am really trying." The monster, or maybe it was not just a monster anymore, stared back. And for the first time, Ngozi did not look away. 3 weeks into her stay, a crisis occurred. A fire broke out in the poorest section of the kingdom, destroying several homes. People were injured, children were traumatized, families lost everything. The kingdom mobilized immediately to help, and everyone was expected to contribute. Ngozi found herself in the thick of it, hauling water, distributing food, comforting crying children. Her hands, which she still hid with gloves, ached from the work. Her body, used to being pampered and adorned, screamed with exhaustion. But she did not stop. At one point, she saw a woman weeping over the ruins of her home. The woman was elderly, bent with age, her face weathered by decades of hard work. Everything she owned was gone. The old Ngozi would have walked past. Would have felt nothing, or perhaps a distant pity that demanded no action. But the new Ngozi, the one learning to see differently, stopped. "Grandmother," she said, using the respectful term for elders. "What can I do to help?" The woman looked up, surprised. Through her tears, she said, "There is nothing. It is all gone. My daughter's wedding cloth, my husband's tools, my grandchildren's toys. All gone." Ngozi thought of her own compound back home, full of beautiful things she had hoarded, treasures and trinkets and fancy clothes. things she had valued more than people. Suddenly, all of it seemed worthless. You will stay with me, Ngozi said impulsively. In my room. It is small, but there is space. And tomorrow, we will rebuild. I will help you. Everyone will help you. The woman's eyes widened. You would do that? For me. But you are the princess's guest. You are. I am nothing special, Ngozi interrupted, and felt the truth of it in her bones. I am just someone who wants to help. Please, let me help. The woman embraced her, sobbing into her shoulder, and Ngozi held her, this stranger, this elderly woman who had nothing, and felt something crack open in her chest. It was not pain, though it felt like it. It was her heart, finally, truly opening to someone other than herself. That night, exhausted and filthy from the day's work, Ngozi looked in the mirror again. The monster was fading. The scales were less prominent. The horns seemed smaller. The eyes, while still yellow, held warmth now instead of malevolence. She was changing. Racing the course, and maybe, just maybe, winning. Keep going, she told her reflection. You can do this. The month was almost up. Mama Neka had said she had a month, maybe less, to change completely or become the monster forever. Ngozi could feel time running out like sand through her fingers. Every day, she worked harder, tried more earnestly, opened her heart wider. She taught the rejected children with genuine love. She helped rebuild homes with her own hands. She listened to people's stories without judgment. She celebrated others' beauty without jealousy. She served without expecting recognition. She gave without expecting return. And slowly, painfully, beautifully, she became someone else. Someone better. Someone she could maybe, someday, be proud of. On the night before the month ended, Princess Amara came to her room. Tomorrow, you must return home, she said. Your time here is complete. I do not want to go, Ngozi admitted. Here, I am learning to be better. At home, I will face everyone I hurt. I will have to look at them knowing what I was. That is precisely why you must go, Amara said gently. The true test of change is not how you act in a place where no one knows your past, but how you act in the place where everyone remembers it. Can you be humble where you were once proud? Can you be kind to those you were once cruel to? Can you maintain this new way of being when you are back in your old environment? I do not know, Ngozi said honestly. Then find out, Amara challenged. And remember, the mirror will show the truth. Whatever you have become, whatever you are becoming, it will reveal it. That night, Ngozi barely slept. She knew that when she looked in the mirror in the morning, she would see her final form. Either she had changed enough, or she had not. Either she would see herself, truly herself, or she would see the monster she deserved to be. As dawn broke, she sat on her sleeping mat, the mirror in her lap, gathering courage. Around her, the kingdom was waking up. Children laughed in the courtyard. Vendors called out morning greetings. Life continued, beautiful and ordinary and full of small kindnesses that made it all worthwhile. Okay, she whispered to herself. Let us see what I have become. She lifted the mirror and looked. And what she saw made her gasp. Not in horror this time, but in shock. Because the reflection was not the monster anymore. And it was not the vain, perfect beauty she used to be either. It was something in between, something entirely new. She saw herself, truly herself, for the first time. There were faint lines around her eyes from worry and work. Her hands, visible in the reflection, bore small scars from helping rebuild homes. Her expression was softer, more open, touched by the pain she had both caused and healed. She was not as physically perfect as she had been, but there was something in her face now that had never been there before. Depth. Character. And beauty. But there were still hints of the monster. Small scales at her temples, barely visible. The faintest yellow tint to her eyes. A sharpness to her nails that was not quite human. The transformation had not fully reversed. She had changed, but not completely. The monster was still there, lurking, waiting. What does this mean? She asked the empty room. The answer came not from the mirror but from her own understanding. It meant she was not done. It meant change was not a destination but a journey. It meant the monster would always be part of her, a reminder of what she could become if she stopped trying, stopped growing, stopped choosing kindness over cruelty. She would never be perfect. The monster would never fully disappear. But she could keep it at bay. She could choose, every day, every moment, to be better than her worst self. I can live with that, she said to her reflection. I can live with being imperfect, as long as I am trying. The journey home took 3 days, and with every mile, Ngozi's anxiety grew. How would her family receive her? How would the village react? What would she say to Chioma, to all the people she had hurt? The questions haunted her, but she did not turn back. When she finally arrived in Umons, it was evening. The village was quiet, people finishing their day's work. She walked slowly through the familiar streets, and people stopped to stare. They saw the change in her, even if they could not name it. The proud girl who had left was not the humble woman who returned. She went first to Chioma's home, the hardest visit of all. Chioma was outside, helping her mother grind cassava. When she saw Ngozi, she stopped, surprise clear on her face. Ngozi, she said carefully. You have returned. I have, Ngozi said. Then, gathering all her courage, she knelt in the dirt before Chioma, ignoring the shocked gasps from neighbors watching. I came to apologize. For the cruelty. For the pain I caused you. For every unkind word, every humiliation, every moment I made you feel small so I could feel big. I was wrong. You are beautiful, inside and out, and I was too blind to see it. I am sorry. Chioma stood frozen, tears gathering in her eyes. Get up, she said softly. Please, get up. Not until you forgive me, Ngozi said. I do not deserve it, but I ask for it anyway. Chioma helped her up, and then, wonderfully, impossibly, she embraced her. I forgive you, she whispered. I forgave you before you even left. Now you must forgive yourself. They spent the evening talking, really talking, as they never had before. Ngozi told her everything, the mirror, the monster, the princess, the children, the learning, the changing. Chioma listened without judgment, her kind face understanding everything. The mirror still shows traces of the monster, Ngozi admitted. I do not know if they will ever fully disappear. Maybe they are not meant to, Chioma said thoughtfully. Maybe they are meant to remind you. To keep you humble. To make sure you never forget what you were, so you appreciate what you are becoming. Perhaps, Ngozi said. But I am scared. What if I fail? What if I slip back? What if the monster wins? Then you try again, Chioma said simply. That is what being human means. We fail, we try again. We fall, we get up. We hurt others, we apologize and do better. The monster only wins if you stop trying. 1 week after her return, Ngozi stood before the mirror in the early morning light. The village was still asleep. She had been back long enough now to settle into a new routine. She helped her mother with chores. She visited the elderly. She taught children. She was kind to everyone, even those who remained skeptical of her change. But the previous night, something had happened. She had overheard 2 women gossiping about her, saying cruel things, doubting her transformation, mocking her attempts at kindness. And for just one moment, one brief, terrible moment, she had felt the old anger surge up. She had wanted to confront them, to remind them of her beauty, to make them hurt the way they were hurting her. She had not done it. She had walked away, fist clenched, breathing hard, fighting the impulse. But the feeling had been there, powerful and familiar and seductive. The monster had stirred. Now, looking in the mirror, she saw the consequences. The scales at her temples were more prominent. The yellow in her eyes was brighter. The sharpness of her nails had increased. One moment of anger, even unexpressed, and the monster had surged forward. "No," she whispered. "I am trying." I walked away. I did not hurt them. "Why are you still there?" But she knew why. Because change was not about perfection. It was about choices. And in that moment, even though she had made the right choice externally, internally, she had wanted to make the wrong one. The monster fed on those desires, those impulses, those moments of weakness. She heard footsteps behind her and turned to find Mama Neka standing in her doorway, watching her with ancient, knowing eyes. "You came back," Mama Neka said. "I did," Ngozi replied. "But I am still changing. The monster is still here." "Of course it is," Mama Neka said, coming closer. "Did you think 1 month would erase years of cruelty? Did you think a few good deeds would transform you completely?" "I hoped," Ngozi admitted. "Hope is good," Mama Neka said. "But change is work. Constant work. Every moment of every day, you must choose. Kindness or cruelty. Humility or pride. Service or dominance. And some days, you will choose wrong. The question is, will you give up, or will you try again?" "I do not want to become the monster," Ngozi said, her voice breaking. "Then do not," Mama Neka said simply. "Every time you feel the anger, the jealousy, the pride rising up, stop. Breathe. Remember who you want to be. Choose again. It will not be easy. It will never be easy. But that is what makes it valuable." She moved toward the door, then paused. "The mirror will stay with you for the rest of your life, Ngozi. It will always show the truth. Some days, you will see beauty. Some days, you will see the monster. Most days, you will see both. That is what it means to be human, to contain both light and darkness, and to choose, always choose, which one to feed." "And if I fail?" Ngozi asked. "If the monster wins?" Mama Neka turned back, her expression grave. "Then you will complete the transformation, and there will be no returning from it. The mirror gives chances, but not infinite chances. Eventually, if you continue to choose cruelty over kindness, the change becomes permanent. Your body will fully become what your spirit has been." She left, and Ngozi was alone with the mirror once more. She looked at her reflection, the woman she was, the monster she might become, the beauty that was both curse and gift. Then she made a decision. She would not hide the mirror anymore. She would not avoid looking at it. Every morning, she would check. Every morning, she would see the truth of who she was becoming. And every morning, she would choose again. It was not the ending she had hoped for. There was no magical moment where everything was fixed, where the monster disappeared forever, where she became perfectly good. But maybe that was the point. Maybe perfection was not the goal. Maybe the goal was simply trying, failing, trying again, growing slowly and painfully and beautifully into something better than you were. She set the mirror on a shelf where she would see it every day. A reminder. A warning. A challenge. "I will keep trying," she told her reflection. "Every day, I will keep trying." But even as she spoke those words, she felt it, a tightening in her chest, a pressure behind her eyes, a familiar surge of anger at having to work so hard when others seemed to find kindness effortless. The monster stirred, eager, hungry, waiting for her to sleep. And in the mirror, she watched as the scales spread just a little bit further across her skin. The transformation was not over. In fact, Ngozi realized with growing dread, it might never be over. She would fight it every day for the rest of her life. And some days, she might lose. That night, unable to sleep, she heard a knock at her door. She opened it to find a young girl, perhaps 13, beautiful in the way Ngozi used to be. The girl's eyes sparkled with the same pride, the same sense of superiority. "Are you Ngozi?" the girl asked, her voice already carrying that edge of contempt for anyone less beautiful. "They say you used to be the most beautiful woman in your months. They say you could have married a king. Why did you give it all up to play nursemaid to the village?" Ngozi looked at this girl and saw herself 5 years ago. She saw the path this child was on, the pain she would cause, the monster she might become. And she made a choice. "Come in," Ngozi said. "Let me tell you a story about a mirror that shows the truth." As the girl entered, Ngozi caught a glimpse of her own reflection in the window glass. The scales had spread further. The transformation was accelerating. Time was running out faster than she had thought. Whatever happened next, whatever she chose in this moment with this girl, would determine everything. She could plant seeds of kindness or seeds of cruelty. She could help this girl avoid her mistakes or push her toward them. She could feed the monster or starve it. She picked up the mirror, holding it carefully, feeling its weight and power. The girl looked at it with curious, greedy eyes, already imagining her own beautiful reflection. "Before you look," Ngozi said, her voice steady despite her racing heart, "you need to understand something. This mirror does not show what you want to see. It shows what you need to see. And once you look, you cannot unsee it. Are you ready for that?" The girl reached for the mirror, confident, proud, so much like Ngozi used to be. "I am not afraid of truth," she said. "I am beautiful. Everyone says so." "That is what I thought too," Ngozi whispered, watching as the girl lifted the mirror to her face. And as the girl looked into the glass, as her expression changed from confidence to confusion to dawning horror, Ngozi felt the monster inside her stir one final time. Because part of her, the dark part, the part that had not fully died, wanted this girl to suffer as she had suffered. Wanted to watch her fall, wanted to see someone else experience the pain of transformation. But another part, the part she was fighting to grow, wanted to help. Wanted to guide. Wanted to save this girl from the path Ngozi had walked. In the mirror on the shelf, Ngozi could see her own reflection behind the girl's shoulder. The scales were spreading faster now, climbing up her neck, covering her cheeks. The horns were pushing through more prominently. The monster was winning. She had to choose. Now. In this moment. Help the girl or abandon her. Feed the monster or starve it. Become fully the creature she feared or fully the woman she hoped to be. The girl started to scream. And Ngozi had to decide, what would she do next? If you're still watching, drop a comment below and tell me, do you think Ngozi will save the girl, or will the monster finally win? And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more incredible African folktales that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Hit that notification bell so you never miss when we drop our next story. Because trust me, what happens to Ngozi and that girl, you need to know. But that, my friends, is a story for another time. Until then, remember, the mirror shows what we truly are, not what we pretend to be. And the monster we fear most is often the one we create ourselves, one cruel choice at a time.